I always told my mom, I was like, well, I'll quit my job. The worst thing that will happen is my house go to foreclosure and my car will get repossessed. And those things happened.
Create your life.
Crée ta propre vie.
Create your life.
创造你的生活。
Create your life.
Crea la tua vita.
Create your life.
Ontdek jouw leven.
You better create your life.
Create your life.
Create la vie.
Create your life.
Create your life.
Beautiful people, happy Sunday. This is the Create Your Life series. I'm your host, Kevin Y. Brown. It's one of those amazing days where we have the opportunity to be blessed just to be here. You know, very, very thankful just to be here on this earth today. Over the past week, before we bring on our amazing guests, I just really want to let's catch up. Over the last week, had the opportunity to travel to Houston. And actually got to run into today's guest in Houston randomly. Amazing young lady. But while there, also had the opportunity to go and have some conversations with a couple stations there and talk about, what we're doing here at the Create Your Life series, some of the amazing guests that we've had the opportunity to have on, and was asked about our catalog and, what kind of guests we've had and things like that. And it was just felt so good to be able to show them our press kit, with these 80 plus episodes that we have now, and be able to talk to our experiences of being here, putting on live events and things like that. And so it was very humbling, but at the same time, a prideful moment. And so what I want to say to you, Create Your Life series family, is definitely never shun away from the work, because the work is legitimately what helps us out with our legacy. And while there, also had the opportunity to go to Texas Southern University and speak to some of my mentor, Raphael Moffitt, who works there, and another good friend, Kavaris, and just engage in that dialogue and see what opportunities were available there. So it was a really, really good trip. Stayed for a couple days and came back, just so that we could be here and we could do this, because, it's all about creating our life. And there have been some other things that have not been so great going on in this week as well. One of our dear team members, Michelle, her grandfather, Bill, he passed away. He worked in the Air Force. And he was 86 years old, and he left behind his wife of 63 years. Michelle describes him as a lovable teddy bear with a caring heart. And he leaves behind 2 sons, 3 grandkids, and 4 great-grandchildren. So we're definitely sending our condolences to Michelle's family, and hoping and praying that they, remain strong in this time of need for them. During this past week, I also, just earlier in the same day, woke up and found out that my brother had been shot and killed in the front lawn of one of the homes that I grew up in California. It was definitely a awakening. I don't know. It was a different type of phone call than I'm used to, and so I can personally, for my brother, I can personally account for 2 times where, if he didn't make the decisions that he did, or told me that I couldn't do what I wanted to, I wouldn't be able to stand here in front of you today, or be able to talk, or even have this show. So he definitely saved my life a couple of times, just from making stupid decisions. So, I want to say rest in peace to my brother. But I also want to tell you, Create Your Life series family, that life is not promised, and to really live on your own terms, go after what it is that you want, go for your wildest dreams, help people on your way to going where you want to go, and also keep a great attitude, that respect for yourself and others. It's always important, and always, like I said earlier in this catch-up episode, do the work yourself. Do the work. Don't shy away from it. Shun not the struggle, for this is God's gift. Be strong. And so when we talk about doing the work, I feel like that's the embodiment of who today's guest is. She has been ranked the top 30 under 30 in Washington, D.C. She's been named one of the future business leaders of America, Business Person of the Year, and she's been nominated for the Changemaker of the Year for her work with financial literacy. So Create Your Life series family, I'm talking about no one other than Miss Dominique Broadway. Dominique, please say hello to the Create Your Life series family.
Hello, how are you?
Doing amazing. Thank you so much for being here on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
Dom, I got a confession before we even get out of here, right?
Okay.
So I met you at the Entrepreneur Summit in Houston, probably back in like May or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
You were on my list of people to try to recruit as a guest for the show, like since like early in the year. And I was just like, oh, snap, that's Dominique Broadway. Beeline, like
no, but actually, I think you said that after a couple of drinks. You were like, "Hey," I was like, "Okay."
Oh, yeah,
maybe
not in the creepish way, but you know what I mean. I was like, "Yo, this is a dope sister." You know what I mean? She's doing some amazing things. I think she would be great to help out. You know, some of the people, you know, who listen to the Create Your Life series, basically the Create Your Life family. So, yeah,
I appreciate it. It's an honor to be on.
Okay. So Dom, just jumping right in, you're a personal finance expert, the money therapist, entrepreneur, trailblazing millennial. So my first question is, how did your love for finance start, and who taught you about it?
Yeah, so my love for finance probably started, I think it probably started with my love for money. And, you know, it's interesting. A lot of people say you're not supposed to love money. I'm not saying I'm necessarily in love with money, but I do love what money can provide, you know, ability to create your own life, right?
Mm-hmm.
But also the freedom that it provides. And, you know, as a young age, after, you know, talking to my grandfather, who was just always just financially on his stuff, and researching and realizing that I wanted to create a life that I could live on my own terms. I realized this when I was probably like 15 or 16. Is really when that passion for money came. And so I started researching, trying to figure out, like, okay, how are the rich getting richer? Like, you know, how are people making money that we aren't making money? And it was through two things. It was through the stock market and real estate. And so essentially what I did was try to figure out how to get into one of those professions. And obviously I was too young to start just buying a bunch of houses. But I did decide to start researching the stock market and things of that nature. And that's really how, I guess, my career and love for it kicked off, majoring in banking and finance and all those good things, and eventually starting my own company, helping people with the same things.
Mm-hmm. And you're a graduate of HBCU, correct?
Yes, Bowie State University, BSU.
Awesome. So your grandfather, he had a saying that there were two types of people in the world. Can you elaborate on that? Yeah. Tell us exactly what that was? Or is?
Yeah, so every time I see my grandfather, he always says, there's two types of people in the world. Who are they? And I'll be like, spenders and savers. And he's like, what are you? And I'll be like, a saver. And like every time I saw him, he made me say this. And after a while, I realized, like, you know, as a young age, it's like, okay, this is like a thing me and my grandfather do. Mm-hmm. But after a while, I realized that there really are two different types of people in the world. There are spenders and there are savers. And I was very, I don't know, I guess, just really persistent about becoming a saver. I didn't want to be a spender because I have family members who are spenders, mm-hmm. and I see that they're always paycheck to paycheck. And they don't really have anything to show for it. They have things, but, you know, things don't make you happy. And then I also would look at somebody who, like my grandfather, who's a saver, who always had the ability to help us, so family members in need. Mm-hmm. Also being able to, you know, help pay for my schooling or buy multiple properties. And being able, you know, for him and his family to travel the world if they want to. And I was able to really see how the life of a spender looks versus mm-hmm. the life of a saver. So I always was really, really adamant on becoming a saver, keeping my expenses low and things like that.
How early did you and your grandfather start that mantra, that back and forth?
Ooh, when I was young. I don't even know, like maybe 9 or so. I was young. Who knows? I'm old now, but you know what I mean? I was a kid.
So did he put any particular literature in your hand that was kind of like monumental for you getting started on this, you know, on the path that you're in?
Not really. This is interesting. When I realized I was really passionate about finance and I knew I wanted to become a stockbroker and a financial planner, mm-hmm. I went back to my grandfather and said, okay, Pop, I want to, you know, learn how to start investing in stocks. Mm-hmm. And he was honest. He said, look, I don't know much about it. I have this thrift savings plan that I contribute to through my retirement or whatever. You can look at this, but I don't really know a lot about it. And I respect the fact that he was honest. And then
Right.
I was able to kind of take his statement and just start like researching and understanding on my own. But that was really as far as he knew. So I was, kind of the only person in my family that really went to the next level to understand the ins and the outs of the stock market, going on to becoming a stockbroker for high net worth clients, working with clients that have $40-50 million in investable assets, which is crazy. And so I just kind of took it to the next step.
And let me ask you this: because you came out working at major brokerage firms, like UBS Financial, Edelman Financial, and this we talking about at 21. You start doing this. You focusing on these high net worth clients. Did you see a lot of honesty in them? I'm looking for this trend because your grandfather was so honest and transparent with you. Did you see that in those clients too?
Yeah.
As far as what they knew and did not know?
The one thing that I noticed amongst like my grandfather, you see him, he's the kind of guy that, I swear his favorite shirt is this. I used to be like, okay. So in college, I used to also do liquor promotions. I was all about making money, right? And I got him this shirt. It was a McAllen shirt, the whiskey or whatever.
Yep.
And I swear, every time I see him, he has this shirt on. This guy has more than enough money to buy shirts. But it was interesting because I see my grandfather, he has like these New Balances, these jeans, and might be Wrangler and his T-shirt. The calmest dressed guy ever. Our clients who were multi-millionaires, similar attire, right? Every now and then they come in dressed to the T, but they will pull up in a Honda, but they have, 15 million in their bank account. Right. And so I would see, I don't know if it's necessarily honesty, but I definitely could see those similar traits in favors. Obviously, every now and then somebody may pull up in a Bentley or whatever, things like that, whatever your personal taste is. But I did notice that a lot of those traits were very similar to people who are frugal and looking to build more of generational wealth and longer term wealth than just like, I can ball out this weekend.
Right. What would you say were some of the major takeaways that you took from working, of course, from being under your grandfather, but also from working with these high net worth individuals so intimately in managing their finances? Yeah,
I think the biggest thing is how they always kept their expenses really low. These people would literally they just don't waste money. You know what I mean? They're not out here overspending. They're not paycheck to paycheck, obviously. And just the key that, I've met with a lot of multimillionaires and, I always ask them, like, how did you do this? And they're like, always keeping your expenses low. And it's something I always did from, like, buying my first house at 22, based on my salary at 22, which was probably only $45,000 or something of that nature, and keeping my expenses that amount. Keeping my expenses to my $40,000 or $45,000 salary, even now, 10 years later, and I don't make anywhere near that. And so I've always kept my expenses near that because it's allowed me, as my income has gone up, that my savings and investing has gone up, not my spending. And so most people, as their income goes up, their spending
expenses
goes up.
grow. Right.
And I wanted to be opposite. And that was like one of the biggest things I learned from working with multimillionaires, and also tactics to build generational wealth through life insurance and other things of that nature are like the biggest things that I was able to take away and have been able to implement in my own life, which is such a blessing.
Yeah. So to me, what I'm hearing from you is you practice what you preach. And I love that. I love it. So what are some of those tactics to building generational wealth that you learned? Can you share maybe, 3 to 5 of those with us?
Yeah, I think so. Like I said, one of the biggest things is honestly spending way less than what you're bringing in. Because if you spend less than what you bring in, it gives you the extra money to start investing, to start saving for college, for your kids, or for my situation. I don't have kids, but I have a 529 for my sister, 529 college savings plan that I have with my sister that I've had for probably, when she's 16, I probably have had it for the past like 10 years since I had my first job. So I'm saving for her to go to college, and she don't even know, right? In addition to having those life insurance policies, where I have life insurance on myself, my brother, my sister, my mom, my dad, whoever. So even if I croaked over tomorrow, there's a little over $1 million that my family can use to continue that generational wealth on. This is before I even have a husband or kids. Right. And also because that's a really easy way to pass wealth from generation to generation tax-free. In addition to real estate, like I said, I bought my first house at 22. And so I'm actually in the process of selling it now. But from that, it's almost like I have so much equity in my house now. It's kind of like the rent that technically would have been paid for the past 10 years of me living in this condo. I'm getting back, right? And so those are all just different tactics where, I'm letting my money work for me instead of just constantly throwing it away.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And that's when I'm not a multimillionaire. So that's just like my basic stuff that I'm doing that I'm trying to implementing from what I've learned. So
yeah. Well, I think it's important to stick to a strategy, and to definitely, to have one. And it sounds to me like you have a really, really solid game plan. And to me, that's what makes the difference between the haves and the haves not, or the wealthy and the non-wealthy.
Yeah, I agree.
So what was it that helped you? What was your process to becoming an entrepreneur, after you were working at these different financial brokerage firms and being a broker?
It was, what was the strategy? God, probably.
Okay.
Yeah. So I didn't have a lot of these people are like, oh, I was working this job and then I started a side business. It wasn't like that. I literally just quit my job, literally. So I quit my job. I was working at my mentor's firm, and the goal was for me to, kind of take over his firm as he got older. Perfect, ideal, it's ideal situation for a financial planner. He was, African American man coming in, taking over his firm. It was perfect. But after being there for about 5 months, it just many days I said, man, I'm supposed to be doing something else. And I'm sure a lot of people can relate. When you're sitting in a job every day, you're just like, I know I'm supposed to be doing something else. I'm supposed to be doing something bigger. I just didn't know what it was. So I pretty much just went to my manager, the owner of the company, and told him that I wanted to quit. I quit. And then basically took a few months to try to figure out what I wanted to do. Tried my hand at a couple of different businesses and realized at the end of the day that I really wanted to be in personal finance. But I realized that I couldn't be in personal finance the way I wanted to at these firms because they weren't allowing me to work with the people that I wanted to work with. And I wanted to work with people who were like me, that didn't have millions and millions of dollars, but still wanted access to financial information and guidance and things like that. So at the end of the summer, I'm riding in my car. There was an advertisement for an event called For Sisters Only. I called and I said, this is going to be the perfect time for me to start my company. I called them, got a booth. It was $1,000 for the booth, which I would never pay that much now. But I paid $1,000 for the booth. And called, actually the guy was in it at the time, said, look, I'm starting this company. Can you help me make, some website, things like that? Because he had a graphic design company.
Right.
And he helped me make a website, business cards, banner, and literally launched my company a week later. I had about 95 people that signed up to become clients, and I made a third of them clients. And that doesn't sound like a lot, but for me it was huge. Because I just started a week before, and it showed me that there was interest. So, like I said, those aren't big numbers. But from there, just my work and the stuff that I was doing just started being noticed. And that's how I started winning so many awards. And, it wasn't just like, oh, this girl's talking about personal finance. It's like, oh, this girl who was a licensed stockbroker has, started this company dedicating her life to millennials and things like that. So that's pretty much how the path or journey kind of started off and kicked off.
Before you jumped out and said, okay, you know what, I'm gonna quit. Did you have any for those out there who are listening? Did you have any money saved up? You know what I mean? And for how long could you have lived off of your expenses and stuff like that? Because some people are just gonna be like, oh, you know what, Dominique just quit, so I'm gonna do that tomorrow, and then they don't have, they're missing the backstory and the work part of it. So. Yeah.
So what I did was I had about a year's worth of my salary saved.
Got you.
And I had been working for maybe 5 years at the time. But I remember I said I was always a very, very aggressive saver. So when I got my condo, I was still driving a 93 Mercedes, okay? And I drove that car literally until I had a fire under the hood. And my mechanic was like, Dominique, you can't drive this car anymore. And so for me, it was like that car payment and things like that. I was saving for years and years and years, and, in addition to other things. So I kept my expenses really low, and my biggest expense was pretty much just my mortgage and things like that, I had to buy a car later on, like I said, because of the fire. But I had kept my expenses bare minimum while I was working. So by the time I was able to quit, the money was there. You know what I mean? So I had about a year's worth of my pay saved. But I did, after I quit my job, about a year and a half in, I went broke. And that's because I wasn't charging enough for my services. That's a whole other story. But I did end up going broke. And so I had to kind of rebound from that as well, because I hadn't been broke before, to be honest. I'd always been so good with my money, but I was so passionate about my company and passionate about helping people, I wasn't charging enough. And so my own finances took a hit. And from that, it was like, what the hell just happened? It was crazy. Then I was mad with God and all this is angry. And what I realized is that, when you look back on it, it was a blessing in disguise because it gave me the ability to learn a lot of financial things that I hadn't learned before. Like, how do you get your house out of foreclosure? When your car is about to be repossessed, what do you do? When you're behind in all your payments, what do you do? How do you increase your credit score? These are all things I went through, right? And I didn't expect that. Mm-hmm. And so at the moment, I'm like, God, why are you doing this to me? You told me to quit my job and start this company. Mm-hmm. And so, like I said, looking back on it now, it was all a blessing in disguise. I was able to learn way more than I learned in school just by going through those life experiences. And I'm actually able to help my clients and provide more services now because I've been through that. So I can help people get through it. So it also made it more relatable. So that's a lot of times the other things about business that people don't see is the setbacks that you have as an entrepreneur.
Okay. So, yeah. So Dom, how did you overcome that? Right. Because oftentimes that's a huge blow, right? Because some people might look at that as failure. So how did you overcome that blow? Kind of sometimes even a shock to the ego. Like, I can't believe this has happened. How did you make it through that and then bounce back?
It was hard. It was really hard. I mean, I probably never felt so low in my entire life where I'm literally having clients calling me saying, oh my gosh, thanks for your help, I paid off my credit card debt, I'm buying my first house, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm over here, struggling to make my ends meet, right? And so it was really hard to the ego. But for me, it was a lot of prayer. I mean, I was just praying all the time because I knew this is what I was supposed to be doing. I had no doubt in my mind this is what I was supposed to be doing. I just needed to restructure things. I needed to start thinking about my business as a business and not a passion project.
Right.
And
absolutely.
So once I stopped doing that, I had to go back to my grandfather. Honestly, I went to my grandfather and I told him, I said, look, I messed up, Papa. Like, I really messed up. And you know what he did? He turned into my financial planner. And he sat down with me and did the exact same things that I do for people. He pulled out all my bills, all my debt and everything. And he helped me create a plan to work all this out. And I was able to. But it was interesting because I had to go to somebody else to get help with what I do for other people. And he told me, he said, look, you can't help yourself because you're so busy helping everybody else.
Right.
I'm going to help you.
Right.
We're just going to sit down and go through this. And so really helping him and being honest and being, it's hard to ask for help, especially as an entrepreneur. I'm Aquarius, independent woman, I can do everything on my own. But it was really hard for me to go back, ask for help, admit that I messed up. But that was the big thing that helped in addition to, like I said, praying and also being very transparent with not just my family, but also with my friends. Yeah. I was very transparent with my friends about what I was going through. And that actually helped, too, because a lot of them were going through similar things.
Wow.
Some were able to provide me advice. Some were able to provide me guidance. And so I think that's another area that people are, when they're going through stuff, they don't want to say it. They don't want look, girl, I can't pay my car notes, whatever. They don't want to say that. And I started telling my friends, and it just really helped create a lot of safe zones for me, where I no longer felt like it was me going through this stuff by myself.
Very, very important. We have a saying over here, iron sharpens iron. And if you're not sharpening, then you're rusting.
Yeah, so true. It's true.
Yeah, that transparency, that we definitely, even here just on the team of the show, you know what I mean? We talk about what's going on with each other and just have those doors open to make sure that we can always, be able to support. So it sounds to me like that peer group is something that is, and of course, mentorship has been a couple things that have really been huge for you in your journey. Beautiful people, this is the Create Your Life series. I'm your host, Kevin Y. Brown, and we are here with Miss Dominique Broadway. Dominique, are you here?
I am.
Oh, cool. Glad to have you. Dominique, before we left, you were talking about how important mentorship and friendship was and you making it through some of your times of hardship. So today, what does your peer group look like? And do you have friends for different type of environments, things like that? Or does everybody that rolls with you, who's your friend, they can basically navigate all circles and aspects of life with you?
Yeah, I have amazing friends. God has really blessed me. I have, I have entrepreneurial friends. I have friends that are, navigating corporate America and all these different spaces. And I have even a group. There's 4 of us in a group. And we're a mastermind group. We meet every 2 weeks virtually. We actually all just met up in New Orleans. And for an in-person session, but we meet up and just make sure we're all getting our stuff done. All just killing it in their respective businesses. And, you know, one has like a credit repair company, one has like a women's empowerment company, one has like a, what do you call it? Like a staffing and kind of growth type of company, and everyone's killing it in their respective space. And so, you know, for us, it's making sure that we're holding each other accountable to reach these goals so that we can, you know, some are already at, you know, 2, 3, 4 million a year in business. I'm not there yet, but trying to get all of us to that respective point. And so that really helps a lot. And also just having people who understand what you're going through, because I know that when I first started my company and when I would have like issues or trials and stuff like that, when I would talk to my friends who had like, you know, just a typical or just a regular 9 to 5, they were like, just quit, just go back to work, you know, and that's not what I needed. I need somebody to tell me to keep going. And so I really value all of my entrepreneurial friends and friends that I have in just all unique spaces and in various industries.
No, absolutely. It makes sense. You know, that accountability group always, man, just makes a huge difference. And so with your company, Finances Demystified, you speak at universities, major corporations, and nonprofits. How did you actually break in to getting, you know, these type of contracts and, you know, this type of business? Going from where you just had those first 90 clients, going broke, you know what I mean? And then building up that confidence to jump out there.
Yeah. I would say it was interesting. So I first kind of just started out just speaking for free, right? And then after a while, someone was kind of like, you know, you can charge this. And I was like, really? So I started charging. And the cool thing is, like, you never know who's listening to an interview. You never know who's watching your videos on YouTube. You never know who's watching, you know, who's in the audience. Every time I do a speaking engagement, I must be doing a decent job because I always end up getting some other gig out of it.
Absolutely.
And so I did about 48 or 49 speaking engagements just last year, with about probably 90% of them being paid, which is awesome, which is amazing for me, being that I didn't start my company to do that, you know? And so for me, it was just getting out there and speaking for free. And a lot of people don't want to do that, but I started out speaking for free. And then it kind of just grew to, can you come speak here? Can you come speak there? And then, you know, going to, you know, other countries and speaking. It was like, wow, this is really happening. So it wasn't something that was intentional. It was something that just happened, honestly. But it just started with me doing it for free.
Awesome. With you have, you know, I would say kind of, you know, high profile. So I'm pretty sure people always come to you with these different opportunities and these different ideas of things that you should do that would be great for your business. How do you discern what you should and shouldn't be doing, and what's in your best interest?
Yes, Lord. Oh my gosh. My info inbox is loaded all the time. I think for me, I always go with my gut. And a lot of times I get an email. It's like professionalism, right? Some people see an email and you're just like, did you even try to draft this email? You know? Right. So a lot of times it's that I'm looking for like incorrect spellings and things like that before I even respond. Because if you didn't take the time to carefully craft your email and make sure it like makes sense, the spelling is correct. I mean, come on, there's spell check nowadays. Like there's no reason to be having an email full of negative spelling. Also reading things over and going with my gut to kind of make a decision if this is something that I want to do or not. So that for me has been the biggest thing. And also making sure that they align with my brand. Because I get a lot of sponsorship opportunities from companies that just don't align with my brand at all. And I'm not going to put something in front of my following that I don't necessarily believe in. You know what I mean? So that's a big thing as well.
Yeah. So the only thing that I have to say about that, my typo game is strong, like legit, especially in text messages. You know, sometimes I go back and read and I'll just be like, wow, dude, did you really send that? So
yeah,
I'm good
for him to hit the little asterisk, like, my bad, I meant blah, blah, blah. He's like, I know what you mean. I'm like, I just want you to know I ain't dumb out here. So.
Right. I actually do got some sense, just a little bit, but you know, what had happened was. Dom, one tool that you recommend to help with saving is an app called Digit. Of the many apps available in the app marketing world, why do you recommend this one specifically?
I like Digit. Digit's great. There's a couple apps I really love, and there's so many coming out, so that's why it changes. Digit is great because it helps you save automatically, which is awesome. The one thing about them is they did just start charging like this $2.99 a month fee, so I honestly kind of ditched them and switched to Dobot. So Dobot is another app that does a similar thing, where it actually saves for you automatically into a savings account. But there's another app I'm also in love with if you're interested in starting to invest, but don't have, hundreds or thousands or even hundreds or, to start investing, called Acorns. And they're one of my favorite apps. And they round up your purchases and take the difference in actually investing into the stock market for you, which is great. So you can start investing for a couple dollars. So I'm using pretty much Dobot and Acorns for just helping to invest extra change or for them money out of my account that I don't have to see.
Makes sense. How do you spell Dobot for those who are out there not familiar?
Yeah, it's just DOBOT, and the other one, Acorns, is ACORNS.
Okay. Awesome. I want to go back a little bit because you touched on something that I thought was really important, especially for people who are being entrepreneurs. Sometimes you have this passion project going, or that's how you're looking at it, and you need to be looking at a business. How did you basically get your mindset right and get your pricing right? How did you figure out how to price appropriately so that you can make sure that you're running a sustainable business?
Yeah, so for me, it was taking a step back and looking at my pricing and looking at the time that I was spending with each client. So what I did was kind of look back at my revenue for the past year and was able to look, based on that, kind of decipher how much time I was spending on each client. And from that, I was able to adequately adjust my pricing and then also realize that I love my one-on-one clients. You guys are great if you're listening. But I much prefer to do a lot of group work because with my one-on-one clients, one, it's very hard to scale. And two, I get really invested in their lives, like really, really invested in their lives. Right. And so for me, it was like, what can I do to kind of create more passive income? So I started putting a lot of things in place to create passive income, such as my ongoing financial coaching programs and new programs I'm actually launching this year as well, the next couple of weeks.
What's it called?
It's going to be called kind of like the Millennial Wealth Builders Group, where you can actually get in and kind of get that financial planning and coaching for the price of a gym membership. So you're still getting what feels like one-on-one, that accountability. You have to, send me pictures to see your savings account and things like that, but at a more affordable price, a lower entry point, I would say, than my one-on-one client.
Absolutely.
So things like that have helped to, stabilize my income over the past few years, but also to provide our services to more people. So that's really been the bigger mission for me as well. So.
Okay. And where can we go in order to sign up or, get on the pre list, the early list?
Pre-list. Yeah. So definitely signing up to we're going to the website, DominiqueBroadway.com, getting on the email list or even joining our Millennial Wealth Builders group, which is a free online Facebook group. They're going to get access to that program first. And we're only going to accept probably, we're thinking like 20 people to kick it off because we want to really test out and kind of do a beta just to make sure we can provide the service that we're promising.
Absolutely.
And so it's definitely be first come, first serve. So I would definitely say sign up because I already actually have a wait list already going to people who are like, I want this.
Right.
But yeah, that's pretty much how to do that.
Okay. What would you say is one of the number one kitchen table money issue that's least discussed that really needs to be, though?
I would say money in general is bad. I think the topic of money is not discussed at all. There's no specific topic like credit or savings or any in general. People will talk about sex before they'll talk about like sex and STDs, literally, sadly, before they'll talk about money. And so I think that in general, another big passion of mine is to provoke the conversation of money. And so, I just think that money in general isn't talked about. But I remember I had an event a couple of years ago, and it was two ladies that had drove together to my event. And one of the things that we had to do was kind of share like a financial thing that we're dealing with that we need guidance on. And the interesting thing is the person that was able to provide her the help that she needed actually rode with her to the event. They had never talked about money together, even though they were best friends. And so it just really shows how a lot of times if we start talking about money more, you'd be surprised the person that can help you is probably a phone call away. And so a lot of times we suffer in silence. unnecessarily because we're ashamed of what we're going through.
That's deep. And speaking of the power of friendship and partnering, and somebody else having the answers there for you, you're actually a part of Angel Rich's company. She was just previously a guest on the show. Her company, Wealthy Life. So what has your experience been working there in the C-suite and also, of course, in the C-suite running your own company?
Yeah, so that was really interesting. I've actually known Angel for a few years now. Someone connected us and was basically like, you guys need to know each other. You're both super passionate about personal finance. And so I had a goal this year to get into the financial technology space. And it was just really random that, Angel was really looking for somebody to help in the chief strategy officer role. And I said, well, hey, I'm at a good point in my business. I would definitely love to join on. So it's been really interesting as we're raising money, traveling back and forth to Boston. We finished an accelerator program there, but also launching our app this past August, which hit 250,000 downloads in the first 2 weeks, which was crazy.
Yeah, Credit Stacker, right? Credit Stacker's the app. So Create Your Life family, go out and go to your Android market as well as your iOS store, your Apple store.
iOS,
Yep, and download Credit Stacker. I've played it. It's like Candy Crush for smart people and financial people.
It's kind of addictive, which is funny. So for me, like I said, I knew I wanted to be in the financial technology space. So, that's another wealth building strategy for me. I knew I wanted to be in that space, have equity in a company. And so I thought it was a great opportunity.
Awesome. So how do you, with doing all of these things, how do you balance work and your personal life?
It's not hard, honestly. I don't think it's that hard. The cool thing as an entrepreneur, you manage your own time.
Right.
So I make time for what I want to make time for. And I can accept or reject any opportunity that's going to take too much of my time. So, excuse me, that pretty much has been how it's been for me. So I haven't had a big issue with it. I feel like it's probably easier for me versus someone that has a 9-to-5.
Gotcha.
Because of that flexibility.
So you would say that the key to you managing and balancing the both is maybe time management?
Yeah, I agree. Time management and having a really good team that works with me, which really helps because I can't do it all on my own.
Right.
So I have a great team that works for my company, Finances Demystified.
How big is your team?
Help just to kind of keep everything together.
How big is your team?
So there's 2 people that work for me part-time.
Okay.
Almost full-time. They're kind of full-time, they don't know. But yeah, 2 that work for me part-time.
Okay. And if you don't mind me asking, in what capacities do these 2 people work for you at your company? Yeah,
so I have one that's more of my kind of like assistant / project manager. And then I have another that pretty much just does all my visual and graphic design stuff. And as me having I don't know if it's necessarily an online company, but I guess all of our companies are online.
Right.
Visuals and graphics are really important. So I have one person that pretty much just does all that and runs social media.
Awesome. So, Dom, with all of this experience, of course, being in the entrepreneurial space, has there been one particular book that has stood out to you? Like, what's your favorite book or something that was just life-changing for you that you've read?
I would have to say a long time ago, I read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad and loved it, and talking about the rat race. And it really hit home for me because I was always so scared of being part of the rat race. And so I felt like that book just really gave me more of a strategy to not be a part of the rat race instead of just saying, I don't want to be a part of the rat race, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. What would you say was one of your defining moments that really helped you to get on this path and stay the course so far?
Defining moment. I think probably, multiple things. I think to get me on the path was probably as a child, because my mom and my stepfather and my dad were all entrepreneurs, and they had so much flexibility with their time where, if we all woke up late on a Tuesday morning and they had to go to the office late, and I mean, I had to go to school late or whatever, it wasn't a big deal. In our house, there was never a mad, ugly rush in the morning. And I really loved and appreciated that. And I knew I wanted that same lifestyle. But I would say once I started my company, the thing that kept me going is like a lot of my followers and like people that I work with, like, because there was plenty of days where I'm like, this is too much work. Like, I'm working all the daggone time. I could totally go into work in any company and make all the money I need, because I made really good money before, you know? But then talking to someone that's like, oh my gosh, like, you literally changed my financial situation or whatever. Like, that's the things that have really kept me going in those previous years when I really wanted to give up. So I would say a combination of both.
Okay. Awesome. What would you say is one of your favorite quote?
My favorite quote is, I claim it. I don't know if I came up with it, but it's it's don't fear failure, fear regret. And I don't know where I heard this or came up with it, but I just know that, like, I remember reading like this article about this person who was like an older person and like on their deathbed, they're like 100 years old or 99 or something crazy. And he was filled with regret. Things that he wished he had done, places he wished he had traveled, businesses he wished he had started. And I would just tell myself that I don't want to be that person. So if I want to help pop up and move to a new city, or if I want to decide I want to travel to Bora Bora tomorrow, I'm going to do it. Because I don't want to look back and say, I wish I had done X, Y, and Z. And so that's why we like that quote, don't fear failure, fear regret.
I love it. That's, to me, the epitome of creating your life. You just got to jump out the window sometimes and just do it.
I love the name of your show. One, perfect, create your own life.
I mean, live it. You know, I always think back to that. I think it was the founder of Amazon. He had something. I think it's Jeff Bezos. He was like, you know, when he's 80, 90 years old, what is he going to look back and tell himself about his journey and the experiences that he had? And it's just, you know what I mean? Like, what are you embodying, and what is that legacy that you've created? It's just super important. What are 3 things that you would tell someone who are looking to create their best life right now?
3 things? I don't know, 3. I would say just really take the time and figure out, what do you want your life to look like? I think people don't take the time to do that. I know when I started my life, or whatever you want to call it, I definitely was like, well, how want my life to look like? Well, I know I don't want to be in an office every day. I know I want to travel. And I want to have the financial resources to do what I want to do, and I want to do it. So what type of company, or what do I need to build that will give me the financial resources to do these types of things? And I think people don't take the time to do that. Like, they feel like they have to go to school and get this degree and get this job and live this life and then get married, have a baby, and then, you know, die, right? Right. It doesn't have to be that way. Like, you really can live your own life. And so for me, I took the time to figure out what life I wanted and how can I create that life for myself. And I think people don't take that time to say, like, what do you want your ideal day to look like? Do you want to wake up and go to yoga? Do you want to wake up and drop your baby off at school? Do you want to wake up and be on a beach? And what does that look like for you? And I took the time and did that activity. And it made me realize that I don't want to be in the same place every day. Maybe a couple weeks in a row, but not every single day. You know what I mean? Absolutely. Like, and so I think for me, it really helped me to define my life and define what I needed to create that lifestyle that I desired.
I love it. Did you have any other tips for us as far as creating your best life? I mean, that was a huge one.
I think just don't be scared. Like, don't be scared of failing, because you're gonna fail. Yeah. And when I started my company, I always told my mom, I was like, well, I'll quit my job. The worst thing that will happen is my house will go to foreclosure and my car will get repossessed. And those things happened. Right. They literally happened.
But you lived through it.
I didn't lose my car, and I didn't lose my house. I still have all these things. And I lived through it. It happened, but I got out of it. You know what I'm saying? And even when it happened, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. It didn't kill me. I was still the same Dominique. You know what I mean? And so for me, those are my worst case scenarios. And my worst case scenarios happened. The worst case scenario is death. But at least, you know, depending on your spiritual beliefs, at least I go to heaven. But outside of that, those are my worst case scenarios, right? So they happened and I didn't die. And so for me, that removed all fear from my life. all fear.
Love it. Well, Dom, we got one more question for you. That is,
Okay.
This is actually a new question that I've been pressured into doing by my team. They want me to be more transparent. So you actually get to ask me any candid question right now, and I have to answer. This is called the hot seat. So, yeah.
Okay, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
What do you feel has been your biggest failure or low point in life so far, and what did you do to come out of it?
Biggest
I
failure?
already told you mine.
Right. I'm trying to think. I wouldn't call it a failure, but it was probably the most challenging point is I graduated from college, and I graduated like in the top 10% of my business and fashion class. And I came to New York, had become homeless, and because I couldn't find a job, and I had to become a janitor. And at this point, I didn't know much about being a janitor, but I was there. And this was the only job I could find. And so I literally cleaned up pee and throw up and everything else. And was like kind of like, teachers were giving me a really, really hard time. And I was kind of like, man, I'm smarter than most of you, right? And I had to endure that for a year in order to get back on my feet, because I was sleeping on a train and sleeping outside at that point. And afterwards, a lot of people don't know this, but I actually went through like a year of depression after that. And it was really, really tough to climb out of it. And what really helped me is one of my mentors really, really like sat with me on a daily basis and just talked and just allowed me to grow and evolve out of it. But it was a really tough time mentally. And also coming from where I come from, I just knew that there was no turning back, which is the reason why I endured all of that in the first place. And so I would have to say the environment that I grew up in definitely helped me to push and keep going forward. So that was definitely probably the most challenging aspect. But it also taught me humility and to appreciate and respect everyone for what it is that they do, no matter how big or small. So I always respect anyone, no matter what their occupation is. So
I agree.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that. No, I think that's good. But I think a lot of times, entrepreneurs or people that are looked at in these certain lights or whatever, it always looks like it's this, what do you call it, sparkly road to the top, right? And most people have gone through these things. They've had these extremely low moments where they're dealing with, just being broke, right? Feeling down about yourself, being depressed, stopping and saying, how did I get here? Everything on paper says I'm supposed to be here, but I'm there,
Right.
And I think for a lot of people, they need to realize is that most people have gone through those things. The issue is a lot of people don't talk about it enough. And that's why I definitely try to talk about it. So I appreciate this ain't my show, but I appreciate you sharing that because it's major. And I've traveled around and met people who have literally been in that same point. And I'm like, well, I want to be your mentor and help you out of this because you don't deserve to be here.
Right.
You know what I mean? And
absolutely.
But like you said, all those things, I was talking to my friend, actually, Tanya Rapley of My Fab Finance, and we were talking about some things. She said, it's either going to be a blessing or a beautiful lesson.
Right.
And I said, well, look about it that way. And a lot of things in life are beautiful lessons. So hopefully you got a lot out of your beautiful lesson as well, okay?
No, absolutely, Dom. And one of the other things that I learned, too, during that time was I had a vision board, and I used to be looking at my vision board like, man, why am I not there? Why am I not like these guys who are on my vision board? And my mentor said to me, she said, when you have a vision board, you're looking at the finished product. She said that you're not talking about the 10 years that these people spent in the basement or the failures and things like that. You're only looking at the finished product. So that's what really inspired the Create Your Life series in itself, is that I wanted to show the behind the scenes of what it is that makes a Dominique Broadway successful, right? That you have a team, that you have this successful network of people. You've had these hardships and experienced those down times, because we basically a great life demystified over here. You know what I mean? You got finances demystified.
It's all persistency and consistency, and that's what a lot of people don't want to do. You know, it's a lot of sacrifice too. Definitely a lot of sacrifice.
It's hard to do the work. Yeah. So Dom, how can we stay in contact with you? You know, how can the Create Your Life series family just stay in contact with you?
Yeah, so website, DominiqueBroadway.com, Dominique Broadway on Instagram, Facebook, and then Twitter. I'm actually MS Finance Coach, Miss Finance Coach. We'll be changing that soon, but it's MS Finance Coach. But super easy to find if we can help with anything. And I thank you again, Kevin, and your team for having me. It's been great.
No, absolutely. Always a pleasure, Dom. And, we'll be in contact. I'm definitely, I'll be out in the H-Town sometime soon. So thank you for being on and, enjoy your Sunday. Look forward to talking to you soon.
Thank you. Talk to you soon. Have a good one.
Okay. Beautiful people, if you enjoyed this episode of the Create Your Life series, be sure to download it from our podcast, which is available on createyourlifeseries.com, iTunes, Stitcher Radio, and Google Music. Also, be sure to leave a review of the podcast. You can catch us live on Sundays from 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time via 90.3 FM in New York or on Facebook Live at facebook.com/KevBrown1. We encourage you to participate in the conversation on Facebook or call in at 212-650-6903. Follow us on Instagram at CYLS Series and at Kevin Y. Brown. Be blessed, and we'll see you back here live next week.
Create your life.
Crée ta propre vie.
Create your life.
创造你的生活。
Create your life.
Crea la tua vita.
Create your life.
On skip your liver.
You better create your life.
Create your life.
Great love you.
Create your life.
Create your life.